Hi everyone. Good morning. Can you see my screen, everyone online? Can you confirm anyone? Still people are joining. Fine. So we have completed 3 demos, right? So DevOps introduction, question and answers, and also cloud introduction, right? So this is fourth session, so which is SDLC, software development lifecycle. So which is very important. Every organization they use the SDLC to develop the code, to deploy the code, right? Yeah. So let's go through this SDLC. So anyone newly joined today? Anyone newly attending today? So can you share your WhatsApp number, online guys? Can you share your WhatsApp number in the chat so that we'll provide you previous recordings? So already people registered, WhatsApp group already created, right? Yeah. So this is fourth session. You can share the WhatsApp number. So anyone newly joined today? Yeah. So classroom guys, anyone newly attending today? So demos. You attended everyone demos?
I was joining online today only.
Today only, right? Yeah. Fine. Fine. So I already shared my WhatsApp number, right? So you can take down my number. So if you have any more questions, if you want to talk to me, can reach out to me. I already shared my number. So my mobile number is 96422 11711. The people who joined today, you can share your WhatsApp number in the chat, online guys. So classroom guys, you will get one document, one note. In that you can add your number. We'll give you one book. In that you add your WhatsApp number. Okay. Yeah. Fine. So what is SDLC? Why we require SDLC? So what are the CSCD process we follow? What are the tools we follow? Right. So what are the process in real-time projects? How developer develop the code? How the code will be deployed onto target application servers, web servers, right? So what is our role as a DevOps engineer? What is our role? So how can we deploy the artifacts? How can we automate the activities, right? And also, yeah, what are the types of tickets we received? What type of issues we face, right? So these are all we discussed today. Okay. So in SDLC, so what is our role? Where we start our work? So we'll see that all these things. Okay. Yeah. Let's get started. SDLC, software development life cycle. Software development life cycle. Okay. Yeah. So every project team they use the CI/CD process and build and release process, right? Yeah. Fine. So developer develop the code in their local workspace. What is workspace? Anyone?
Laptop or the
Yeah, our workspace, local workspace is nothing but where we start our work, right? Where a developer develop the code, right? We are not developers, right? So we don't need to worry about coding part. So developer develop the code, testers test the code. So as a DevOps here, what we will do? So whatever the code developed by developers, that will deploy onto target servers, respective servers. Okay. Yeah. So this is we can say local workspace. We can say local Git, local Git. So developer A, developer B, they are working on their local workspace, right? So once the development is completed, what they will do, they push the code to remote server, remote repository, right? Yeah. So basically, what is Git? What is Git? Git is a repository tool or version control tool. It is a repository tool or version control tool, right? So the people who are attending from today, you will get all the previous recordings. you can go through the previous recordings and you can continue from today, right? Last three recordings, DevOps introduction, cloud introduction, and also question and answers. Okay, we can continue from today. You'll get all the previous recordings. You can go through that and you can ask me if you have any questions. Okay, yeah. So Git is a repository tool or version control tool. So what is repository? Anyone? What is repository? Where we store our data, where we store our source code is nothing but repository. It can be any data. It can be binary files, image files, video files, audio files, where we store our data, where we store source code, right? Where developer store the source code in repository, right? It's not nothing but repository where the data will be stored, right? Yeah, it can be any data. So what is the version control system? What is version control, right? So for example, in our project, 10 developers are working on development activity, right? So 10 developers are developing the code. So one developer is working on front end UI, second one developing on backend APIs, right? So databases, other guys are developing databases, plugins, patches, right? So who is doing what? How can we identify? Who developer doing what? The developer who is doing what? How can we identify? Right? So by using version control system, we'll track the changes. Who did what? Right? Yeah. So based on the comments, Git will track the versioning. So for example, who did changes? Who did changes? When did changes? And what purpose did changes? So based on the comments, Git will track the versioning, right? For example, who did changes? Ram did changes. When did changes? By 9 a.m. IST did some changes, right? What purpose did changes? Due to some production issue, did some changes, right? So based on these comments, Git will track the versioning. So who is doing what? How can we identify? By using version control system, right? Yeah. For example, one developer developed the code today. So in the Java development, developers are working. So developer developed the code today. So he went on leave for 1 month. If you come back after 1 month, so if you check the code, who developed this code, you will be confused. That is why, yeah. So here version control system will help you to track the changes. Who did what, right? Yeah. So in local Git, developer develop the code. Once they push the code, merge the code, once they modify the code, what they will do? They push the code to a remote repository. So we can say this is a GitHub, remote repo or GitHub. So what is GitHub? GitHub is also, it is a repository, but it is a remote repository, remote server, right? So in local, developer develop the code. Once development is completed, they push the code to remote repository, remote server. So why they need to push the code to remote repository? What are the importance here? So in this flow, our next tool is Jenkins. So Jenkins take the code from remote server only. It will not take from local. It will not take from local. So that is why we require remote server here. So this is Jenkins. What is Jenkins? Jenkins is a CI/CD tool, right? What is CI/CD? Continuous integration, continuous deployment, or continuous delivery. Also, you can say, right? Yeah. So whatever code developed by developers, once the development is completed, they push the code to remote repository, which is GitHub, right? So this code should be deployed onto application servers. So that is our target, right? So every project team, what they are doing currently, they are developing the applications, they're developing the code, right? That code we can take using Jenkins and we can deploy onto target servers, right? Yeah. So now my target here is I want to pull this code from GitHub to Jenkins, right? So if you want to pull this code from GitHub to Jenkins, very first thing we need to integrate GitHub with the Jenkins. How can we integrate? By installing plugin. So if I want to pull this code from GitHub to Jenkins, very first thing I need to install GitHub plugin in the Jenkins. Once I install plugin, then Jenkins will start communicating with the GitHub, right? So after that, what we will do? We can prepare jobs here. We can prepare jobs. and we can trigger the jobs. We can prepare the jobs and we can run the jobs. So once we run the job, what will happen? So this code will be pulled from GitHub to Jenkins. Okay. Yeah. So why we need to pull this code? Why we need to pull this code? Right? We can deploy. So finally the code should be deployed. So currently we are using Agile methodology, right? Agile. What is Agile, anyone? What is Agile? It is a parallel development, right? So before Agile, we used to use waterfall methodology. Waterfall. What is waterfall methodology, anyone? Sequential development. Yes. Waterfall methodology. So it is a sequential development, right? In sequential development, development will not move forward, right? So because while working on waterfall methodology, sequential development, so developers, if they face any bugs, issues, okay, development should be stopped. Then they fix the issue. So or else they can roll back, they can work on this, and they can start. They can resume the activity again, right? So in waterfall methodology, development will not move forward, right? So that is why every organization they are using agile methodology. So what is agile? It is a parallel development. In agile, what we will do? We create sprints. We create sprints. What is sprint, anyone? What is sprint? Yeah. So sprint is nothing but it is a timeline. We can say timeline. Okay. So sprint can be 1 week to 1 month. Sprint can be 1 week to 1 month, right? So 1 week sprint, for example, one sprint started today. By next Sunday EOD, that should be completed, right? So 1 month sprint. So for example, 4th March, one sprint started today. By next month, 3rd, that should be completed, right? So 1 week to 1 month. Sprint should be 1 week to 1 month. As per the project requirement, we design the sprints, right? Yeah, fine. So one application, for example, there is a application development. So application, what we will do, we can divide into bits and pieces. Application development, we divide into bits and pieces. That bits and pieces we can say sprints, right? So we can delegate some team members, sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3. We can create and delegate team members. They can work on the sprints. Once the sprint is completed, what they will do, they push the code to GitHub. So GitHub, yeah, from GitHub, Jenkins will take the code, right? So whatever code we pull from GitHub to Jenkins, the code which we can say, which is a raw code, raw code. So what is raw code? It is a unstructured code, unformatted code. So this raw code we cannot directly deploy onto application servers. Here finally the code should be deployed onto application servers, right? So this raw code will not understand by application servers. This we can say app server or Tomcat server, application server or Tomcat server. So this code, raw code will not understand by application servers. That is why what we are doing here, we are integrating one more tool, so which is a Maven. What is Maven, anyone? Yeah, so Maven is a build tool, right? So what Maven will do, it generates artifacts. Maven generates artifacts. What is artifact, anyone? Archive file, binary file, right? So Jenkins will take the raw code. Raw code will not understand by application servers. That is why we are integrating one more tool, which is Maven. Maven is a build tool which will generate artifacts. Artifacts is nothing but archive file, right? So like zip file, binary file. So that war file, zip file, whatever file, so generated by Maven, that we can push to application server and we deploy here in the application, right? So for example, let us say here there is a Java development team is working on Java development. Okay, yeah. So when we talk about development, right? So Java development, for example, three types of developments will be happen in the real time projects. Okay, so first one is desktop application development. Second one is web application development. Third one is enterprise application development. Every application, three types of developments will be happening in the real-time projects. Okay. So desktop application. What is desktop application? Anyone? Desktop application. Anyone having idea? Yeah. In our local system, whatever applications we are using, right? So those are desktop application. For example, we can say calculator, right? So this is our desktop application only. My calculator you cannot access. Your calculator I cannot access, right? So that is desktop application. So if the development team is working on desktop application development, Maven what it will do? It generates jar file, Java archive file, right? So if the development team is working on web application, web development, right? So Maven generates WAR file, web archive file. So if the development team is working on enterprise application development, so Maven generate EAR file, enterprise archive file. So based on the application development, Maven will generate the respective formats. So not only Java, Maven supports Python, Ruby, right? So any language it supports. Okay. So as per the development as per the project team requirement, yeah, Maven generates the respective format. For example, Maven generates here war file. So this war file, once it is generated, will give back to Jenkins. Jenkins will push the war file to application server. Here we deploy the war file, right? So this is the flow every project team they are following currently. Every project team they are following. Any questions up to here, anyone? Anyone having any questions up to here? All in guys, any questions so far?
Actually, Jenkins has a terminology. What is it called?
Jenkins, sir?
Has a terminology. Terminology means like it has a name. Like,
Yeah,
what is it called?
right. So Jenkins is a, yeah, Jenkins first name. You're talking about
Terminology.
terminology, right?
Yeah. Just for example, like Git is a remote repo. In that way, Jenkins says something. I
Right.
forgot the
Yeah,
terminology.
Jenkins is a CI/CD tool. CI/CD,
Yes.
continuous integration, continuous delivery tool,
Okay.
right? Or continuous deployment tool. So Jenkins first name it is Hudson. Hudson. So currently they changed the name here. So initially when Jenkins was started, by the time we used to call it as Hudson. They changed the name, right? So Jenkins is the core tool, advanced tool. So every tool integrated with the Jenkins in real-time projects. Jenkins is a mediator. Okay. So our role starts from Jenkins only. Git and GitHub, these two tools are developer tools completely, right? So our role starts from Jenkins. Okay. Yeah. Fine. Okay. Developer develop the code and DevOps means we are pulling the code from GitHub to Jenkins and deploying onto respective target servers. Testers test the code, right? So every project team they are maintaining some code standards. Every project team they are maintaining some code standards, right? So for maintaining the code standards, we use one more tool which is Nexus. Sorry, Sonar code review tool. Nexus is different tool, which is a repository tool. So this is we can say Sonar code review tool. Sonar. So code standards. So every project team they are maintaining some code standards. Yeah. So Sonar always review the code. Sonar always review the code. So Sonar also it is a completely developer tool, not DevOps near tool, right? So Git and GitHub, Sonar, these three tools are developer tools. Developers always create the metrics in Sonar. Metrics they create in Sonar. So what is metric? So they create some rules, right? So if any duplicate lines are there, any duplicate lines are errors, or fixes or bugs, right? So Sonar always review the code. For example, so we are using Flipkart and Amazon shopping site, right? In the Flipkart, for example, in the Flipkart, we have duplicate lines are there. So in the Flipkart, so here, these are all we can say microservices, right? So here some duplicate lines are there. For example, when I try to book any product here, so we found some duplicate products here. Duplicate pricing also 3 4 times we are seeing here. In that case, what will happen? Some confusions, right? So confusions. So yeah, so people what they will do? Okay, this is not good. We can jump into other site, other website, right? So they move to Amazon shopping site, Mintra, Misho, so many websites are there, right? So that is why every project team they maintain some code standard to prepare the proper structured way, right? So here, yeah, so any duplicate lines are there, errors are there. So always Sonar code review the code. Okay. Yeah, Sonar code review the code, and it will, if any more than three duplicate lines are there, more than two duplicate lines are there, it will give the report. Developers they log into they check the coding, they fix the issues. Okay. Yeah. And also in live application, so this we can say build and release process, build and release process. Okay, in live, this process will be happen in live application. So as we discussed Flipkart, we are talking about Flipkart, right? So in the Flipkart, so this pricing will be changed every moment, right? So offers will be changed. For example, so year end offers, March year end offers, right? They modify some pricing. So we'll modify that. Developers, application team, back end they modify the coding, right? So they push the code to remote repository. Jenkins will take the code, convert into war file, deploy onto Flipkart server, so that pricing will be reflected, changes will be reflected, right? So that is, yeah, this is the live process, this is the live application process. So we have a non-live applications also there. Non-live applications, what are those? For example, harshatrainings.com. So this is a non-live application. So in live, no need to worry about, no need to prepare anything here. Okay. So non-live, right? So in this case, in this non-live applications, what we will do, we add one more tool here. So which is Nexus. So this we can say Nexus repo, right? So whatever war files are generated by Maven, that war files we can store in the Nexus. Whenever we have a release, by the time this war files we can push to target servers, respective servers, to deploy onto target servers. This war files, jar files. This is a non-live. In live application, in the live the code will be deployed. So in our codes we have CSD project. So by the time we'll work on live project, we'll see the live. So whatever code developed by developers, that code they can they can push it to remote repository. That we can take by using Jenkins and convert into WAR file, and testing should be happened. After we can deploy onto application server. That we can see in live while working on CSD project. We have nearly 15 projects will be covered in our course. 15 projects, live projects. So while working on projects, so in live, so practically we can see all these things. Clear, right, everyone? Any questions up to here, anyone? Anyone having any questions here?
So exactly at what stage the testing will be conducted?
Right. So before pulling the code from GitHub to Jenkins, also testers will test the code. Okay. So once the code is converted into WAR file, also code will be reviewed. Okay. Sonar will review before pulling from, yeah, before pulling from GitHub to Jenkins, will review the code. Again, once it is converted to WAR file, also it will review the code. Okay. Sonar is very core tool. So most of the project team they are using Sonar portal. So in place of Sonar, we can use different other tools also. But Sonar is very popular tool, very advanced tool. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions before moving to? other tools. Anyone having any questions? Online guys. Yeah, someone asking what is archive file, right? Right. Enterprise application. Someone asking. Okay, fine. So desktop application and web application. Desktop application is we can use in our local laptop, right? Our desktop. Web application we can deploy onto server. Enterprise level application we can deploy onto Kubernetes, Docker, right? Enterprise level. So yeah, millions of requests come at a time. That is enterprise level. That we can deploy onto Kubernetes and Docker, right? Yeah. So other question someone asking, what is exactly WAR file, JAR file, ER file, right? So whatever code developer develop the code here, right? So the code will be pushed to GitHub. So Jenkins will take the code that is raw code. Raw code is nothing but unstructured code, unformatted code, right? So raw code is nothing but yeah. So different formats, different different pieces that yeah that will be forward to Maven. So Jenkins forward that raw code to Maven. So Maven will convert into one single file, one binary file, zip file, right? So jar file, war file, ER file. These are all binary files. So only that binary files will be understood by application servers, right? So in place of Tomcat, we can use JBoss, WebLogic, WebSphere. These are all application servers, right? So that war file, raw code will be converted into one war file, single file, like jar, var, er. That is a binary file. That binary files will be understood by application server. So once it is generated Maven war file, give back to Jenkins. Jenkins will push that war file to application server. In the application server, you deploy the war file.
I have one question actually. I just want to go one step back. As I know in agile, agile process.
Hmm.
So we have the sprints and the stories, as you know, where the development picks the sprints of the stories, they start working on it.
Yes.
So it means I would like to know that when the sprint has some cycle, as you know, the sprint retrospectives and reviews all are there, right?
Hmm.
So in agile methodology, we include the end user also for whom we are creating the project. They could also see that what exactly we are doing.
Right.
So in that process, where this DevOps things comes, because our as you know that when we generate develop a file and it, as you are saying that it goes to the end user like the app Token server, there you could store your deployment file, right?
Hmm.
So our client means the end user, they do they have also that kind of accessibility for the Tomcat server, so they could see the deployment and also they could means I would like to know that if they are also the part of this whole development process.
Yes, yes. They are also part of the development process because, yeah, we are talking about sprints, right? Sprints.
Yeah, the basic one, and what we know from the starting of the development and the deployment. Because DevOps is a new procedure which right now the companies are opting for it.
Exactly.
It's not
Yes.
like 14 years back thing. It's
Exactly.
recently like for the 2-3 years they started with it. So what I exactly want to know that the basic thing what we know that we have the story points, we have the development tools, we deploy, we do the retrospective thing and the review things,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Now, for me, that was also a new thing. So, what I would like to know that's the basic thing. If we go one step back, the basic thing I'm talking. Now, as we know that we also involve our end user because in agile methodology
Yes.
it's a parallel kind of a development
Yes.
where if a user say that you could stop your project here. Then you don't have to go further
Exactly.
because it's not a waterfall method that we have to go step back and to do it. So in the means for the DevOps process, um, do we also include our client side, means our user side, so that they could also see that what exactly we are doing?
Yes, yes, yes. So because yeah, everything will be transparent here.
Yeah, that is what I want.
Everything will be transparent because yeah. So whatever sprint they are working on, yeah, which sprint should be deployed first, which sprint should be deployed second, which sprint should be deployed third. That sequence will be provided by developers only.
Yes.
As per the requirement, we need to create the jobs here. Sequential development. Sorry, parallel development. In the parallel development, as per the development requirement, so they give the sequence. As per the sequence, we can prepare the jobs and we can trigger the jobs We can schedule the jobs.
So that means the end user also have the same accessibility like us for the Tomcat server, right?
Yes, yes, yes. They can have access. Yes. Fine. Yeah. Online guys. Any other questions? Anyone? Yeah. So flow is Git, Jenkins, Maven, Jenkins app. Okay. Yeah. So I give you unmute option. You can ask the question. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Ram, like you're saying, Sonar and Nexus will come, right, for code
Hmm.
reviewing. So for
Yes.
live and non-live applications. So when exactly in this flow, the Sonar and Nexus will come into picture between the Maven and Jenkins, or when it?
Right. Right. Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in live application, what will happen? Whatever the code developed by developers, that will be moved to GitHub. So once the code is moved to GitHub, Jenkins will take the code, convert into one WAR file or jar file or ERF file. That will be deployed onto Tomcat in that live, right? So non-live applications, what will happen? So whatever WAR file generated by Maven, that will be stored in the Nexus repository. So whenever we have release, by the time we can push the WAR file to respective target servers and we can deploy. So Sonar is it is a code review tool, right? So every stage it will review the code, right? Clear, right? I think Stravan,
Yes.
Stravan, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Anyone? Fine. Now, so along with these tools, we are going to work on other tools also, which are very core and advanced tools, which are like, yeah, Ansible, Ansible, Docker, and Kubernetes. What is Ansible? What Ansible will do? Ansible is a configuration management tool. Ansible is a configuration management tool. So Ansible is very core tool. It will automate any activity, right? So in the first demo, we discussed about Java deployment, right? So 1,000 servers, how can we deploy Java on 1,000 servers, right? So by manual way, my manual process when we use, it takes 10,000 minutes. So in the first demo, we discussed about Java deployment, right? Java deployment. So if you want to deploy Java on 1,000 servers, so in manual way, so it takes you 10,000 minutes, right? So 10,000 minutes, it's a huge time, right? That much of time client will not give, right? So normally we receive some tickets request for any activity in real-time projects. We work on tickets, right? So we have ticketing systems like ServiceNow, ServiceNow, Jira, BMC Remedy, Jitbit, different ticketing systems are there, right? So when we receive any ticket, every ticket is having SLA. What is SLA? We discussed already.
Service level agreement.
Yes, every ticket is having SLA, right? So service level agreement. What is service level agreement?
Time given to complete the task.
Right. It is also timeline. Within the time frame, we have to close the tickets, right? So when we talk about SLA, we have different types of tickets are there. P1, P2, P3, P4, right? So different SLAs we have, right? So P1 should be completed within how much time they give? 1 hour, right? So P1 should be completed within 1 hour. So P2 ticket should be completed within 4 hours, right? So P3 ticket should be completed within 24 hours, right? P4 should be completed within 48 hours, right? So as per the, yeah, as per the SLA, that ticket should be closed, right? Yeah. So here P1 ticket, for example, when we talk about P1 ticket, so any critical production issue happened, that should be completed within 1 hour, right? So any other deployments fail, anything goes wrong, right? So P2 tickets will be generated, right? So within 4 hours, that should be completed. Any major deployments are happening, that should be completed within 24 hours, right? So P4, it is a non-critical, right? Like this, yeah, SLA designed. For example, Java deployment 1,000 servers we are talking, right? So it takes 10,000 minutes manual way, So that much of time client will not give, right? So yeah, for example, we received one ticket, so P2 tickets we received, but it takes 6 hours time to complete that. So what will happen? SLA will be breached. SLA will be crossed, right? So in that case, what will happen? If the SLA is breached, right? So escalations will be happened, right? So our KPI will be impacted. KPI will be impacted. The SLA is missing, KPI will be impacted. So what is KPI? Anyone?
Key performance.
Real time, guys? Yeah, key performance indicators. So what is key performance indicators? Anyone? What is key performance indicators?
Key
Anyone?
metrics.
Yeah. So our performance will be degraded. Performance will be impacted, right? So when we talk about KPIs, so positive KPIs are there, negative KPIs also there. Positive KPIs. What is positive KPI? So if any client appreciated, so within the SLA, within the time frame we have completed, and we gave all the instructions to use the application. We gave all the instructions to use the process. We contacted many times client, right? We contacted project members many times. We gave very good support. So in that case, client what they will do, they give positive KPI. So this guy is very proactive guy. So we are very happy with this guy. Like that, they give positive KPI. So in that case, what will happen? It will impact our performance, right? So performance rating will be increased. So some clients, for example, yeah, if you are not responding properly, what will happen? They escalate. This guy is not responding properly. So we have very urgent activity, but he's not responding. So he's not doing well. He's not processing. Yeah, he's not performing well. Like that, they escalate. That is negative KPI. That will impact your performance, right? So while discussing one-to-one, like performance ratings, right, appraisals, by the time that will impact your salary hikes. So that is why to avoid all these things, we are using currently Agile methodology, parallel development. So in this, we are using DevOps tools to automate the activities, right? So Java deployment, 1,000 servers. So it takes 10,000 minutes to deploy the Java manual process. Okay, 10,000 minutes. But when we use Ansible to deploy the Java on 1,000 servers, it takes 1 minute only. Parallelly, deployment will be happened. So not only 10,000 servers, not only 1,000 servers, 10,000 servers also, we can deploy Java within 1 minute by using Ansible. That is automation, right? Yeah, Ansible is a configuration management tool, automation tool. So we have another tools also. Docker, Docker is a, what is Docker? Anyone having idea? Docker is a container tool. Docker is a container tool. What is container? It's like box. We can move anywhere. We can use anywhere. It's a lightweight, standalone, executable program, right? So we can use advanced virtual servers. So containers are advanced virtual servers. So currently we are deploying applications on servers, right? So going forward, what we will do? We deploy onto containers. So currently also we are using containers, right? So containers are advanced virtual servers, right? Yeah. Next one, Kubernetes. It is a container orchestration tool. Container orchestration tool. Advanced to Docker. Kubernetes is advanced to Docker. Next one is Terraform. So Terraform is infrastructure automation tool. It is a very advanced tool to automate the infrastructure. For example, my project team required 1,000 servers, right? So by using Terraform, we can create within 1 minute with all packages, all plugins, all drivers, everything. So Terraform is very core tool, very efficient tool to manage the infrastructure, right? Yeah. So after that, we have Grafana, Prometheus, right, and also JFrog, right? So these are the tools, right? JFrog is artifact tool. So Grafana, Prometheus, these tools are monitoring tools, DevOps monitoring. Kubernetes, mostly we are using in Kubernetes monitoring tools. Okay, yeah. So here Grafana is in the Grafana we create dashboards, different dashboards. Prometheus is the core monitoring tool. So Kubernetes pods, containers, Kubernetes resources it will monitor, right? So these are the tools, core tools we are going to work on, right? So JFrog is the artifact tool, right? So these are the tools we are going to work on. So every project in every organization they are using SDLC to work on the CI/CD and build and release process, right? So our role starts from Jenkins. Developer develop the code in their local Git and they push the code to GitHub. Clear, right, everyone? This flow is very important. SDLC flow is very important. So currently in the agile methodology, so parallel development, every organization they're using the same flow, build and release process. Okay. So yeah, right. So everyone got the course content, right? Everyone received the course content, right? Fine. Yeah, in the course content you can go through. So whatever modules we gave in the course content, every module will go deeper, right? So this course nearly takes nearly 4 months. If I cover in weekends, it takes 3.5 months. Okay. Yeah. So maximum 4 months. So if we cover in weekends, Saturday, Sunday, sometimes, right? So we can complete within 3.5 months also, right? Yeah.
I have a question
Yeah.
actually.
Good.
So I'm only opting for one cloud and DevOps. It's AWS and DevOps. So how you are going to do
Yeah.
process with that?
Right. So first in our course, yeah, tomorrow onwards, what will happen? So tomorrow, day after, we are going to work on basics, servers, networks, and IP addresses, load balancers, subnet mask, gateways. These are all basics required for DevOps and cloud engineering. Okay. So tomorrow, day after, we are going to work on basics only. Okay. So after that, slowly we'll enter into AWS. Okay. Yeah. So tomorrow, day after, fifth and sixth we are going to work on basics. Seventh we are going to start AWS. In our course first tool is first platform is AWS, right? So once started working on AWS, middle of the AWS, not middle, after few sessions Linux will be covered. Linux will be covered. So Linux, how much we required as a DevOps engineer, how much we work on in DevOps, that will be covered. We are not Linux admins. We don't require full Linux. Okay. So we required 40 to 50 commands, right? So Linux models also, yeah. So I'll show you. So we discussed already Linux models. So yeah. So these are the Linux models will be covered. So this will take 4 to 5 hours. This Linux models will take 4 to 5 hours, right? So once we complete the Linux, after that we'll continue AWS. Once complete the AWS, we can start working on DevOps, right? So in our course, AWS will be started first platform. After that, DevOps, right? So if you want to opt for only AWS DevOps, you can.
I actually only opted for AWS.
Yeah. So if you learn multi-cloud, that would be very advantage for you and advantage because every organization they are using at least two clouds. You can just think about it. Okay. So every organization they are using at least two clouds. If you understand three clouds, you can cope up in any project. You can crack any interview. So in our project, we are using four clouds. Four clouds. AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, along with the digital ocean also. Okay. Yeah. So if you learn three clouds, you can crack any interview, you can cope up in any project. Okay. All the platforms are same. AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, all the platforms are same. Terminology would be little different. Okay, fine. Yeah. Next one. Any other questions, anyone? Any other questions, anyone so far? Yeah. So once complete the DevOps, then we'll jump into Azure. Azure, and Google Cloud, right? So while working on AWS, I'll show you few projects. Okay. While working on DevOps, I'll show you few projects. Okay. So we have simple projects are there and live projects also there. Okay. So simple projects 15 will be covered. Live projects 3 projects will be covered. Right. Live projects CI/CD project, migration project, and a Kubernetes project. Total 18 projects. Okay.
So for AWS and DevOps, how many projects you can cover?
Yeah. For AWS and DevOps, nearly 15 projects will be covered. Okay. So in yeah, AWS and DevOps you are asking. Azure also some projects are there. Okay, we'll see that. I'll show you that. Fine. Yeah. So tomorrow onwards we are going to start regular sessions. So today also it's kind of introduction only SDLC. Yeah. Tomorrow completely meeting link will be changed. Okay. So those who are not registered so far, you can register and you can add into WhatsApp group today itself. Okay. Yeah. So tomorrow onwards link will be changed, and also yeah, tomorrow we are going to work on basics: servers, networks, switches, routers, IP addresses, subnet masks, gateways, right? Load balancers, firewalls. These are all very important for cloud engineering. Before going to AWS, first we need to understand these basics. If you understand these basics, you can easily understand AWS infrastructure. Okay, clear, right, everyone? Yeah. So you can reach out to me if you have any more questions. I already provided my number, right? So these are the institute number and my number. So this is my personal number. You can take down my number, everyone. So those who are attending, who are attended today, who joined today. So this is institute number. You can take down both the numbers. So if you have any more questions, you can reach out to me after this session. Fine. Yeah, I provide you course content. You can go through that. I provide you previous recordings. You can ping me if you haven't received that. Okay. Yeah. So tomorrow onwards, regular sessions will be started. Right. Yeah. If you are interested, you can add into WhatsApp group as soon as possible today. Fine. Right. So any other questions, anyone? Classroom guys, online guys. If you have any other questions, you can ask me. If no questions, we can wind up today. Yeah. So tomorrow onwards, we are going to work on regular sessions. Fine. Yeah. So we can wind up here. So if you have any more questions, you can call me, WhatsApp me after this session. Okay. So that we'll discuss. Fine. Yeah. Thank you all.